Good evening. Welcome. Namaste, everyone. Great to share this space with you this evening as we explore this final chapter, the concluding thoughts of the first chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad. If I could sum it up, it's really about engaging in life and developing healthy relationships. So, a life of real human flourish, which radically changes our idea or some of the notions we have about spiritual life, of one of being detached. So here, Upanishad presents a beautiful idea of detached engagement, engaging with a healthy attitude in a loving, creative, nourishing way. So before we get into that and explore it, we'll start by creating that sense of collectivity and oneness by chanting the mantra, beginning in a prayerful way. Om. 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 Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Bhararayanam Sutra Bhasha Kratau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Guruvatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavatyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace be, peace be, peace be. Hari Om. Now we'll also chant the first mantra of the book, the Shanti Pata. You can repeat after me. Om Shanno Mitra
Om Shanno Mitra
Shambarunaha
Shamvarunaha
Shanno Bhavatvaryama
Shamno Bhavatva Ayama Yama
Shanna Indra
Shamna Indro
Brahaspatihi
Brihaspatihi
Shanno Vishnurukramaha
Shamno Vishnurukramaha
Namo Brahmane
Namo Brahmane
Namaste Vayo
Namaste Vayo
Tvameva Pratyaksham
Tvameva Prakyaksham
Brahmasi
Brahmasi
Tvameva Pratyaksham
Tvameva Prakyaksham
Brahma Varishyami
Rama Vadishyami
Ridam Varishyami
Ritam Vidishmayami
Satyam Varishyami
Satyam Vadishyami
Tanmamavatu
Tanmamavatu
Tadvaktaramavatu
Tadvaktaramavatu
Avatu Mam
Avatu Mam
Avatu Vaktaram
Avatu Vaktara
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Great. So I would like to think of these evening sessions rather than me teaching you, us exploring Upanishad together and just alighting our minds, looking at the text, doing that pada cheda, seeing each word. What is it meaning? What is it implied? What is the traditional meaning? Then how do we make that operative in our life and nourishing to our life? So it's fascinating. I think it's just it's an enlightening experience just to alight one's mind on Upanishad. So it's not just a mere book study, but rather when we get to explore these mantras together, we're really refining our mind. It's a legitimate way to purify our mind and then also get that deep vision. So Mother Shruti or this Upanishad, we take it as a kind of pramanam, a magic mirror to see yourself, to see the seer. How do you know the knower? That's a famous question that comes in the Upanishad dialogue. So there we say Shastra, Shastra Yonitva. We use these sacred texts of Upanishad. So I'm looking into this with you. We're exploring this together and seeing what those ancient rishis shared with us from their revelation. So we last left off in our study with something that was like a convocation of address. There it was in that Gurukulam, that beautiful organized system that the Vedic rishis set up, where those young students would come and study, maybe learn the basic maths and sciences, but also study the Veda and study the teaching of harmonizing one's energies with the nature and developing that inner brahmacharyam and all that. So in that convocation address, the guru pro- provides the fundamental teachings, kind of summary of what was taught. So that was said in this particular mantra that starts with Vedam anuchacharyo ante vasinam anushasti. This is what the guru prescribes. Anushasti. This is just a bit of review. We saw satyam vada. Always speak the truth. Satyam vada. Then also dharmam chara. Organize your thought and your actions for the long-term good. That's called dharma, not just righteousness. It's so much deeper than that. That's what we sometimes translate in English. Dharma is righteousness. That's true, but it's much more. It also means aligning one's actions to your inner passion. What is it that you care about? What is it that sustains you and gives you a sense of contributing in the world? So dharma is pretty rich. So we also explored that in the last talk. Dharmam chara, walk the path of dharma. Swadhyaya, also self-reflection or self-study. How do we do that? Through these sacred books like Upanishad. Then also it was said, prayam dhanamahritya, that prayam dhanam, that means the rishi here is encouraging you to earn wealth, not to hoard or possess, but to be able to give back, provide for your basic needs and beyond, and also share that. So that's inspiring to read. Prayam dhanam. We can become entrepreneurs and also be deeply rooted in this wisdom. There's no contradiction there. So that's what's so beautiful about the Hindu mind is that everything can be reconciled. You can hold multiple ideas together. That's what I would call a yogic mind. Prayam dhanam ahritya. Then also prajatantum ma vyavacheti. Prajatantum. It says keep the tradition alive. So there, that can mean respect for the elders. It can also mean um, have a spousal relationship and progeny, and keep those Vedic values continued throughout your children. Or if for a brahmachari, that also may mean having essentially we're finding brahmacharya means to walk the path of Brahman. So it could also mean, though, for the brahmachari or the sannyasi, that they have students and ashram. So they also keep that kind of family alive. They're their family, and their family is their students and the people supporting the ashram. Prajatantum. Then also kushalana pramatitavyam. Don't deviate from being efficient in life. Don't, in the name of spirituality, sit in some cave and waste your life. Do something practical or useful. Be efficient. Kushalana pramatitavyam. Bhutyena pramatitavyam. Don't neglect your bhutye. Bhutye means your material flourish, your prosperity. Don't neglect that. Then also, of course, swadhyaya pravachanabhyam pramatitavyam. Don't swerve from your daily study of scriptures and sharing that. So in modern times, we may not be establishing Gurukulam, but we can definitely alight our mind like we're doing weekly on Upanishad like this. And then also in whatever field we find ourselves, whatever line of work, we can be a living example of what we're learning in Upanishad. Put it into practice. And that's ever rewarding. It only gets better. And as Sri Krishna tells us in the Gita, there's no loss in this work. So you shouldn't feel, oh, I missed a day. I was feeling off yesterday, so I should just give it up. I can't make steady progress. It doesn't matter. Just a little bit of effort. It saves you from a great fear. It feels so good. So even if it's spasmodic, doesn't matter. You're same Brahman anyway. So you just keep on living this truth. And what's so beautiful about it is that will also create a kind of shraddha or trust in the teaching for you. Because when you start to hear that everything is that one glorious being, Brahman, and when you start aligning yourself to that, you'll find that you get a tremendous amount of positive feedback when you try to operationalize that in your life. Meaning, when somebody's shouting at you, or when you're in a debate or disagreement, or when something doesn't go right at the grocery in the line, and then there's something happening, and you try to say, okay, if this is true, that this person's nature is love at their core, and that's my own self, how would I respond to that? That starts to create this kind of intelligent living in you, and you get tremendous positive feedback, and it will create that welling up of shraddha, that feeling that, oh, what Upanishad's saying is true. So this is where we left off, and
Advait.
yeah,
Yeah, question. I was thinking about the word being truthful. So if you're saying a white lie because you're not trying to hurt someone, does that fall under, I mean, where does that fall into?
yeah, there's a nuanced approach to that because when you tell the truth, it should be pleasant
Yeah.
and it should be the right time. The person should be listening, and yeah, it shouldn't hurt anyone. So
So
that
saying a white lie is okay.
don't make me do that, Sushila. Don't put me in this position. Actually, you shouldn't feel bad for that if you're using your agency properly. There are some situations where that may be necessary, and we find example of that. Even like I've told you example of Sri Krishna before, where he did that for the betterment of Dharma in the battlefield. It was a kind of lie, but obviously that is a happenstance. It's not something that we put into regular practice, but it may be necessary. So I would say that there are some times where it's better to keep quiet versus fully tell the truth when that's not available to be heard by the other party or person.
Thank you.
So you don't have to feel bad or guilty about that, but we don't make it a habit and we always strive to be our most authentic self. So, like, for example, I'll give you a practical example. You may be at work and your boss is annoying you and something's really frustrating you, and they ask you how your day is. Now, to be truthful, you could respond and make a mess of your career by saying, I'm really frustrated with you and that things aren't going well. But you could take a nuanced or kind of midway approach where you said, I'm not feeling at my best or center right now. Maybe we could have a dialogue about it later. And then maybe turn the conversation to a more positive note. So you'll have to be able to navigate that intelligently. That's called wisdom.
Thank you.
So I hope that's helpful.
Yes.
So Advait tells you, you can tell white lies. Great. All right. So there's probably a lot more we could discuss on that, but I think we may come back to it later. So the most important thing about satyam, that truthfulness, is the kind of feeling of integration, that you feel that you are in alignment with yourself. So truthfulness and dharma go together. That feeling of being centered around and organizing all of your energies, your action, your emotions, and even your intellectual processing of life centered around what it is that you care about or what you feel that is your best contribution you can make to the world. That kind of feeling may lend itself to periodically having to change one's language or say some white lie for the betterment of that centering principle. So when it's that higher value is still in mind, then these things are okay. Now let us continue. We also covered this mantra, but we'll chant it as a group together. This mantra, it starts with Deva Pitra Karyabhyam, if you can find that in the book. This we saw last week as well, or not last week, but the week prior. This is about upasana, or meditation, but the form of meditation is those close to us. Let's chant it. I'll chant it first so you can hear it, and then you can repeat after me. Deva Pitra Karyabhyam na pramatitavyam matra devo bhava pitra devo bhava acharya devo bhava atithi devo bhava. Okay, now you can repeat after me. Deva
Deva
Pitra Karyabhyam
Pitrakaryabhyam
na pramatitavyam
Pramatipayam
matra devo bhava
Matrudevo
Devo
Bhava,
Bhava
pitra devo bhava
Pitrudevo
Devo
Bhava,
Bhava
acharya devo bhava
Acharya
Acharya
Devo
Devo
Bhava,
Bhava
atithi devo bhava.
Atithi
Aditi
Devo
Devo
Bhava.
Bhava.
Great. So here in this mantra, the rishi is giving a kind of meditation, really. It is a kind of upasana. We find earlier in the book, those upasana may be a little difficult because they were always on seeing the aliveness and connectivity in nature. Here, what is the instruction? Deva Pitra Karyabhyam. Those duties or that feeling of indebtedness towards the gods, Deva, and then also Pitras, the mains. Na pramatitavyam. You should not swerve towards your duties, your sense of duty towards them. And that's further elucidated by saying Matra Devo Bhava. Your God now becomes your mother. Matra Devo Bhava. See mom as God, as a goddess. Matra Devo Bhava. Then also Pitra Devo Bhava. Father as God. So this is unique. Maybe not unique to Hindu culture, but definitely foreign, I would say, to our Western culture, and that God is always transcendental. But here now God becomes a human embodiment, meaning seeing the perfection in the parents, highlighting their good qualities, which that will come. Matra Devo Bhava. See the mother as goddess. Pitra Devo Bhava. See father as God. Then also Acharya Devo Bhava, also the teacher, the one who's sharing this wisdom with you. Acharya Devo Bhava. Then lastly, Atiti Devo Bhava. Atiti, the guest. guest here can mean friend, neighbor, but the implication of the word also means one who shows up unexpectedly to your home or to your place of work. So a stranger or a guest, treat them with that attitude of reverence. Atiti Devo Bhava. Deva means a luminous being. Atiti Devo Bhava. So it's a beautiful attitude. That's why when we start the class, we always begin by honoring the teachers of the tradition and then saying prayer to the guru. Sometimes they say prayer to parents and guru. They also, part of the Hindu culture tradition, at least annually do the Pitra Puja, where you do offerings to the ancestors. So they make that little ball of rice, sesame seed, and water, sweet water, offer it to the Pitras that are in Pitra Loka, it seems. So it's beautiful seeing that connectivity of the tradition and then honoring the parents. One thing at an emotional level is that all of us from the very beginning to a certain stage in life, mother and father, or maybe just mother, was our Ishvara. There was no other choice, meaning we are completely subjected to her loving chest and her warmth of her body and the sweet smell of her skin. There was no other choice. That's how we had no other choice. You just have to be seeing her as God. And similarly with the father, depending upon your family situation. So, or those who cared for you. Um, so, but at some point in time, unfortunately, though that infallible position or vision that the child has of the parents breaks at some point in time, meaning they see mom and dad slip up or get angry, or suddenly their godlike status changes. The perception of the child, the perception of the parents changes in the child's mind. So then that causes hurt and then guilt or suppression or those kind of deeper level unconscious memories that happens in the child's mind. So as we grow in maturity in adulthood, there has to be a time where we kind of settle that account or kind of come to a resolved mind where we say, oh, I realize that they're humans too. They make mistakes. No body, mind, ego is perfect. So I forgive them for that. Maybe they were doing the best they could. That's how their parents did it. So, and they took leaps and bounds. So, what's flashing before my mind right now is how I'm telling you a very personal story. I am remembering where my mother, growing up in teenage years, always used to feel very wanting to protect me. And to this day, I greatly appreciate that sense of care. And she would frequently relate to me stories about how her mother would never let her go out, to go to the movies or go have dinner with friends or play with cards. Cards are black magic in the Christian tradition. So, what leaps and bounds when I think about how she was raised and how she used that as a standard and then expanded from that, trying to take the best from what her mother showed her and then apply that to her life for her son and daughter. So I really honor that. And when you can just get a slightly wider perspective, you say, wow, they were doing a great job, the best they could. Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Acharya is very important and comes too because the Pitras are not giving you the full picture there. So they may. It's not always true. Sometimes we find example where the Pitra, the father, teaches the son this Vedic ancient wisdom, the knowledge of the self. That is rare though. So many times Acharya has to come as an X factor outside of the birth or blood lineage. There too, we honor that teacher as giving the spiritual birth, the birth into the life of living in the Atman. Let's continue. This is kind of an extension of what we just talked about. So I'll chant this next mantra and then we can chant it together. Yan yannavadyani karmani tani sevitavyani no ittarani yan yasmakagum sucharitani tani dvayopasyani no ittarani. Now you can chant after me. Yani
Yani
anavadyani
anavadyani
karmani
karmani
tani
tani
sevitavyani
sevitavyani
no ittarani
No itarani.
yanyasmakagum
Yanyasmakagum
sucharitani
sucharitani.
sucharitani
tani
Tani
tvayopasyani
tvayopasyani.
no ittarani.
No
no
itarani.
Okay, what does it mean? So you can pick up that second word if you can spot it there, anavadhyani.
Mhm.
Anavadhyani means actions that are done that are free from blemish, free from defect.
Okay.
So a kind of instruction here given by the guru about
Mhm.
the way that we reflect upon people who are in a status of leadership or role models that we see around us. It says, Yani anavadyani karmani tani sevitavyani no ittarani. So it says, let your actions be guided by the great actions that you see in people. Yani anavadyani, actions that you see that are really excellent, that are free from any kind of blemish. No, or na u ittarani, not actions that are not good of their character. Not other actions, actions that we find some defect in. Yani asmakagum sucharitani, only those virtuous actions. Tvaya, by you, upasyani, you have to follow those good actions. It's a little wordy. What does it really imply? It's saying that you shouldn't highlight the defects of others. You should find what's great in others and try to pick up on that. Pick up on the greatness of what people are doing and then meditate on that versus finding the faults in others and then destroying yourself in the process. It's a secret here. This is a secret to keeping chitta prasadanam. It's called in Yoga Sutra. Those Brahma Viharas that Patanjali talks about in Yoga Sutra. He says when there's somebody that's greater than you doing something amazing, appreciate them. Take the best. Engage in a dialogue with them. I think I may have told you this story, but if not, uh, one time I was meeting somebody who I wouldn't normally meditate upon, who comes to the ashram. And I have great respect for this person, but didn't really have the mindset that they would teach me anything spiritual. So there's a kind of both fault on my part. You know, what can I learn from this guy? He's just interested in making money. But one time I started to realize that whenever we'd have guests at the ashrams, whenever guests would come here, whenever I'd make a cup of tea, some chai, I realized nobody was drinking it. One day this fellow says, uh, your chai is really bad. It's terrible. And I
Oh.
thought, at first I was a bit stunned. Then I thought, wow, this is a chance. I said, then why don't you teach me how to make some? And what I found out is that he knows how to make the best North Indian chai and taught me that recipe. And we developed such a good friendship and a great bond together. And then I started being able to serve that to everybody who comes. And it's just like, it becomes then a conversation starter and then opened up so much more possibilities for our friendship. So that's an example. I'm just giving a personal anecdote of how
Mm.
you can pick up on subtle cues or open your mind to learning from people that you wouldn't think you would have anything to learn from. So follow those actions, anavadhyani, that are free from any blemishes. So part of that just comes on the understanding of the seeker of truth, that I'm operating this particular body, mind, ego that is subject to various antarayas, meaning that feeling of entropy or distraction or disturbance or dull state sometime our mind falls into. So I also know that they're operating a mind like this. So let me give some grace, see what they're doing that's great, encourage them there, and learn from it. So that's a great teaching that Pujya Swamiji shared with me once. He said, don't do what I do what I say, do what the scriptures say. So let these rishis be your role model, not me. Because Swami may have some maybe have some preferences that I interpret. See, what happens is that I, as the student, project my mental clutter onto what the Swami may be doing. He may have some deeper reason. Maybe it's just a personal preference, but I think, oh, it's some habit. So then I project what I think about that versus just seeing the good things. So that can happen. Sometimes that creates a kind of choking of the heart between teacher and student. So here it's not giving the permission of the rishi or the guru or swami to do bad things. It's saying that find the good things in them. Stick with what they're saying, the teachings. And that's really important also, just to have that proximity with the teacher, meeting and then seeing them live daily life. Another really interesting thing here is I'm reminded of a particular shloka in Gita. It comes in the 3rd chapter, where Krishna says, yet yet acharati shreshtaha, tat tat eva taro janaha, sayat pramanam kurute, lokastat anubhavartate. That particular shloka says that whatever a great person does, or a person of leadership, the common people, janaha, they follow. So that also gives us that sense of responsibility. If I'm any kind of leadership role, it could be I'm playing the role of grandmother, or I'm playing the role of boss, or I'm playing the role of a friend. Any kind of role that you play, when you set the standard. So that gives us that sense that I should be always feeling that. That gives us a sense of living truthfully too. If other people that I admire, were watching me, would they be proud of this? So you set the standard. It's really interesting because that particular shloka, right prior to that, Sri Krishna gives this example to Arjuna and says, don't think that spiritual people are not interested in action or can't accomplish anything by action. He gives this example of King Janaka, who's a prime example of non-attachment, because he was operating a whole kingdom, and but at the same time, he had a very deep spiritual insight. So King Janaka, that example was given by Sri Krishna, somebody who's acting in the yogic sense. Okay, let us continue. Ye ke chasmat shreya gumsa brahmanaha tesham tvaya asanena prashvasitavyam. You can repeat after me. Ye ke cha asmat shreyasah brahmanaha tesham tvaya asanena prashvasitavyam. So this is also about integrating the best. What's said here is that the guru reminds the teacher that now, as you're jumping into society, leaving the gurukulam, finding spouse, getting ready to engage and contribute something meaningful, first training and then developing your skill set and then offering it. As you do that, the guru reminds the students, you're going to find people better than you. Shreya. Shreyasaha. That means that you're going to find people that are more distinguished. You're also going to find people who Yeke chasmat chreya gumso brahmanaha. You're also going to find other people who are gurus. Brahmana here can mean other gurus or other people who are considered godly in status or other elders or parents. You're going to come to people who have a higher status or position and are respected amongst lots of people. What should our attitude be towards them? So this is a part of cultural training the Guru is providing here, the cultural training and context for those youngsters. So when you find somebody who may be teaching something, could be of a different religion or a different trade set, that's not exactly what you were taught, but they have a certain high status or respected. Or it could be they're teaching what you're teaching or doing what you're doing, but doing a much better job. So what should our attitude be? The instruction here is tvaya, by you, asanena na prashvasitavyam. It's a very interesting arrangement of padas there. On the outset, it says asanena prashvasitavyam. You should offer them a seat. Asana. You should give them a space. Asana means a seat. So that could mean the formality of actually creating that. We do that sometime in puja. You create a seat for the pandit. So it could mean that, or it could mean that you create a space to listen to them. You create a seat or space for you to respect and listen to them. Asanena prashvasitavyam. So prashvasitavyam means you should worship or honor them. Give them a seat. Now, in the commentary here that I have in this particular book, it's interesting. I'll bring out one insight here. The author of that shows that that particular sandhi, the way the words are connected, it can also mean asanena na prashvasitavyam. And prashvasitavyam could mean they're not even utter a word. Na prashvasitavyam. Asane, when you're having discussion, you keep quiet. That's another meaning. So it could mean don't try to one up. Don't try to prove yourself. You should just remain humble and quiet. Listen to them. So I'm sure all of you have been in such a position where you realize that you may be knowing something greater or better, or maybe have better insight, but it's not the right time to express that. You weren't asked, or it's not in the proper company. So in such time, you should be quiet. And maybe there's something to learn there. Or you can also look at this as asanena prashvasitavyam. You should create a space for them. Treat them also as God, really. Continuing. So now we come to philosophy of giving. There's an art to this, an art to the giving. So that's said here in this next mantra. Shraddhaya deyam, ashraddhaya adeyam, shriya deyam, hriya deyam, bhiya deyam, samvida deyam. Now you can repeat after me.
Okay.
Shraddhaya deyam,
Deyam.
ashraddhaya adeyam,
Ashraddhaya adeyam,
shriya deyam,
shriya deyam,
hriya deyam,
kriya deyam,
bhiya deyam,
bhiya deyam,
samvida deyam.
samvida deyam.
Good. So how should one give? Here, Vedic culture instills that that value in you for giving, not just by creating the sense of guilt and then wanting you to do charity and all that, but rather because giving is such a transformative experience, and it creates really the space for more learning to happen. It creates a kind of in you to become more of an able vessel versus being filled, mind closed off. So how is that done? There's several different principles. In fact, 5 things are said here about how one should give, the art of giving, or philosophy of giving. What are they? Shraddhaya deyam. You should give with shraddha, it says. Shraddha here means you should give with a sense of duty, a sense that, I think, I feel that this is the right thing to do. Shraddhaya deyam. It's totally different attitude than giving out of remorse or guilt or feeling, I should just probably give because everybody else is giving. Different attitude. Shraddha. You should have that sense that, oh, it's my responsibility to give back. This is important too, because this is also talking about at that conclusion of the teachings at the Gurukulam, there's also what's called Guru Dakshina, the offering of wealth to the Guru. So here, Guru's not asking for anything. There's just a kind of sense that whatever you can give happily is how the Guru is sustaining their life. That's the kind of principle which the ashram operates by, or Gurukulam operates by. So there, the students hop out into the society, and Guru's not saying or pressuring, please give donation, please give donation. No, it's not like that. What happens is that they feel so rich inside. Once they make their first check, then they don't mind cutting a portion of that or the ashram, because it's that sense of I have to support my fellow students, my youngsters, who are also going to grow up into this Vedic wisdom, and the Guru to continue the tradition. So Shraddha, it's based out of a sense of duty. That's the first thing that said. Shraddhaya dheyam. And also, ashraddhaya adeyam. Don't give if you don't have that attitude. Don't give without that proper attitude. Ashraddhaya adeyam. There's that anugraha there. Avagraha there. Avagraha. Don't give without that proper attitude. Adeyam. But how much should I give? Shriya deyam. Give plenty. Don't be a miser. Give with a big heart. So that doesn't mean that you have to, there's an art, because when you give plenty, that doesn't mean that you expend your bank balance and then you can't take care of your needs. No, no, no. It means that when you give, your heart is so full. And the greatest gift, truly, a greatest gift that you can ever give the Guru is to be joyful, to understand that teaching. There's no other greater gift. That is Shri, the greatest gift, to live in that light of the Atman, to be a joyful person, express that joy. The Guru wants nothing more. So Shriya Deyam, give with plenty. Now, these next two sound a little different, but there is something really important here. Hriya Deyam. Hriya means that sensitivity or that sense of humility. So when you give, actually, there's several different ways that people give. Like a tamasic way or a dull way of giving is that you either give a lot, but you're forcing it, or you don't give that much, and you're not really cognizant of the giving process. There's also a rajasic way of giving where you give plenty, but then you go reporting and then puff yourself up by it. You want to make sure that your name is on the top of the pamphlet of the highest donors and all that. So that can happen. That's a kind of rajasic. It's a nice intention. It's a nice gift, but it's a kind of funny intention. It's like a rajasic way of giving.
Right.
The sattvic way of giving is hriyadayam, where you give silently.
Modest.
You know it will be received. Hri means that kind of humility in you. Then lastly, or fourth item is bhiyadayam. Bhiya, this means you should give with a little fear. So you must have felt that way when somebody's you very much respect, and you don't know how that gift will be interpreted, but you mean the best in it. So there's a slight tremble in making that offering. Bhiyadayam. It's that sense of we even get that sense when we do puja. Every time when we do Shiva puja here, we do the arati, we chant that particular mantra. from Katha Upanishad. It says, Na tatra suryo bhati na chandratarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vivati. It says, Lord, I'm just showing you this tiny little light in my lamp, but you are the light of all lights. How ridiculous. So that feeling of I can never praise you enough. This is just a small lamp that's completely overwhelmed by the sunlight. So that feeling of tremble in you because you're so passionate about what you're offering to. Then also samvidadeyam. Samvida. Samvidadeyam means that you're also giving with a sense of understanding. Why am I giving? Oh, because this opens up my heart. And also because this gives me a chance to support the tradition. So it's important to feel that sense that even have that intellectual clarity of why you're giving. That's called samvida deyam. So look at how amazing this is. We saw shraddha, you should have a sense of duty. If you don't have that sense of duty of giving, then the guru says it's okay not to give. It's better that way. It should be given with the right attitude. Ashraddhaya adeyam. Don't give without that. Then also give plenty. Shriya adeyam. I've told you that example about the mother's milk being an example of Shri, something that's given naturally and lovingly. Shriyadayam. Then also with humility, Haryadayam. Give with that sense of tremble, that sense of the little fear, Bhiyadayam. And then your understanding, Samvidadayam. This is the way to give. Okay, we'll continue to the next mantra. We'll do our best to conclude this chapter. So this is a little bit long. You can listen to the mantra and then we'll chant it together.
Okay.
Ata yadite karma vichikitsa va vritta vichikitsa va syat ye tatra brahmana asamarshinaha yukta ayuktaha aluksha dharma kamasyu yatha te tatra varteran tata tatra vartetha atabhya akyateshu ye tatra brahmana asamarshinaha yukta ayuktaha aluksha dharma kamasyu yatha te teshu varteran tata teshu vartetha. Okay, let us chant it together. Atha
Adha
yadi
yadi
te
te
karma vichikitsa
karma vichikitsa
va
va
vritta vichikitsa
rukta vichikitsa
va syat
va syat
ye tatra
ye tatra
brahmana
brahmanaha
samarshinaha
sammarshanaha
yukta ayuktaha
yukta ayuktaha
aluksha
aluksha
dharma kamasyu
dharma kamashu
yatha te
yadhate
tatra varteran
tatra varteran
tatha tatra
tadha tatra
vartethaha.
vartedhaha.
Then we're going to continue to this next mantra. Atabhya akyateshu
Adhabhya akyateshu
ye tatra
ye tatra
brahmana
brahmanaha
samarshinaha
sammarshinaha
yukta ayuktaha
yukta ayuktaha
aluksha dharma kamasyu.
aluksha dharma kamashu
Good. Yatate
yadhate
teshu
Teshu
varteran
Varteran
tata teshu
Tadha Teshu
vartetaha.
Vartedhaha.
Great. We made it. What does this mantra say? Ata, now, yedite, for you, there could be some doubts with regard to your action and also your character. So this is interesting. There's two questions that are presented here. It says there may be some doubt when you're now into the society and you're interacting with different people and expressing your talents and gift. It says that you may come into two kinds of doubts about how you operate in life. So what are those called? If you're taking notes, I can tell you the names of that in Sanskrit, because it would be difficult to break all this down with our limited time. But there's two things. One is karma vichikitsa. Karma vichikitsa means you may have a doubt with relation to action, karma. You could also think about that in Vedic times. You may have a doubt about particular rituals, ritualistic practice. It could be something like, some people are telling me to practice first thing in the morning. Some people are telling me to do the practice at night. Which one's better? And then you kind of dissipate yourself because you get confused. Which is better? I heard this person said to do it this way. This person said chant that mantra. The other said that mantra is not as efficacious as this mantra. So then you get confused. Or it could just be with different particular actions that you're taking. How you action with relationship to your spouse, or how you conduct yourself in the workplace. Karma vichikatsa. It's an action-related question. The second kind of question is vritta vichikitsa. Vritti vichikitsa means that you have some confusion or you have a doubt about your conduct, uncertainty about your character building, how you should form your character, your person. So Rishi or Guru here gives you some advice. In such situations, it's really helpful to seek counsel of a good friend. So that friend or that character that you should approach, that person you should approach, that's said here. You should approach such a person if these kind of doubts arise in you. Syad, if those arise, ye tatra, there, what you should do is you should find a good person. The name for that is brahmanaha. You should find a Brahmin. So here doesn't mean that you have to find a Brahmin priest per se. Brahmin here means that you should find somebody who's deeply reflective in nature. And their nature is further qualified here by saying they are samarshinaha. Samarshinaha means one who's got a holistic vision. Samarshinaha, a thoughtful person. So you should find somebody who you know is thoughtful, considering all their options, who's got a bigger vision of life. That's the first thing. They should also be yuktaha. Yuktaha means they should also be self-controlled. You should see that they have discipline in their life. Meaning you might know somebody who has some regularity in their schedule, or has some ritual or practice that they do consistently, and you find that to be very respectful of them. Or they're always showing up to work on time, or always showing up with a cheerful attitude, eating healthy and all that. You see such a person who's disciplined. Yuktaha. And also the person should be ayuktaha. They should have a sense of objectivity. Ayuktaha means independent here. So it means a sense that they should have a certain inner firmness, a feeling of being comfortable in themselves by themselves. I know these qualities are very rare to find in such a person. You think maybe thinking, where can I find this person? Ayuktaha. They should also have a kind of detached disposition, in the sense that you sense that they're at peace with themselves. They should also be alukshaha. You don't see any jealousy in them or any cruelty in them. Alukshaha. dharmakamaha. And what they're saying, what they're doing should also be in alignment with Dharma. In this context, they should be ethical people. So they're walking the talk, they're disciplined, they have a sense of confidence within themselves, ayuktaha. You don't see them acting cruelly, alukshaha. And such a person who's devoted to Dharma, dharmakamaha. Meaning they shouldn't be telling you to do things that are invasive or go against your family values. Or, we can meet such gurus like that. People in the name of being a guru, which means simply bringing the light of knowledge, dispelling our sense of inadequacy or incompleteness, push various modes of thinking or maybe particular psychic practices that are too invasive or don't make any sense, and they don't have the willingness or the clarity to back up why. So for such people, we are cautioned. They should also be devoted to Dharma, dharmakamaha. See who, such a people who are available there. Yatha te tatra varteran, tatha tatra vartetaha. You should look towards their actions. So that statement, vartetaha, means that you should take up them as an example to craft your life of Dharma, or it could also mean that you approach them and ask them the question. So if you have a question related to your practice or how you should act, and then also a question with related to your character and your conduct. If you have any confusion there, the Upanishad says it's best to approach a person who you feel is living a good role model or mentor. You find such a person and ask them for their help, or try to live up to what they would do. And this mantra extends that, saying, Ata abhyakyate shu, people who are known for bad deeds, there, you shouldn't have that acquaintance or that rapport with such people. So there you appreciate and can love everyone, of course, but you don't have to like and be in close company with everybody. This is a kind of way of how we understand that wisdom vision, that oneness vision, but with wisdom. So sometimes in the name of oneness, we do very funny things. There's lots of stories about that. Stories of young brahmacharis who, in their overenthusiasm, destroy themselves in the name of oneness. If everything's one, then I'll just stand in the front of the road while the elephant's parading through, because the elephant's also Brahmin. And then they break their bones. The Guru says, didn't you listen to the man who told you to get out of the road? He was also Brahmin. So how do I operationalize this knowledge? Similarly, just because everything's one doesn't mean that at the transactional level, vyavaharika level, that we don't align ourselves to our own growth. So growth is taking place at a certain level. You are the growthless, birthless Brahman. But operating body, mind, ego, we have to understand the rules, the laws laid down by the Ishvara. So that last portion of the mantra says, for such people who are known for things that aren't that great, there you don't need to align yourself. You should instead follow what those great Brahmins are doing, those great reflective people. You should look towards them for inspiration. Okay, we are coming to close on time, but if you're willing, we'll chant this last two mantra.
Yeah.
Very simple. Esha adeshaha, esha upadeshaha, esha vedopanashada, etad anushasanam, evam upasitavyam, evam uchaitad upasyam. You can repeat after me.
Okay.
Esha adeshaha,
Esha
Adeshaha,
adeshaha,
esha upadeshaha,
esha upadeshaha,
esha vedopanashada,
esha vedopanishatu,
etad anushasanam,
etad anushasanam,
evam upasitavyam,
evam upasitavyam,
evam u
evam u
cha
cha
etad
etadu
upasyam
upashyam.
esha adeshaha. This is the command.
Okay,
This is the command.
Esha upadeshaha. This is the teaching, it says.
right.
It's so bold and profound. It's like a kind of glorious trumpeting. This is the command. Esha adeshaha. Esha upadeshaha. This is the teaching. Upadesha here means teaching out of love
Right.
for your well-being.
Like a friend.
Yes, like a friend. Esha upadeshaha. Esha Vedopanishad. This is the essence of the Vedas. Esha Vedopanishad. You don't have to study all the Vedas. This Taittiriya is giving you the essence. Esha Vedopanishad. Then also Etad Anushasanam. This is that teaching or commandment. What I've told you.
Right. Scripture.
Evam upasitavyam. This is the way that you should live your life.
Right.
Evam u chaitad upasyam. Now practice it.
It must be done.
It's time to practice.
Right.
So this kind of knowledge that was imparted in this first book is about building your prosperity and flourish. And it is something that you hear, imbibe, and then work and grow into it. Upasyam, you must act in this way, the Guru says. So it's a very kind of glorious ending. Now, we conclude this book with the same Shantipata that we began with, but there's a slight change in the final mantra of it, which
Right.
I'll just close with. So I'll chant this now, and then we can repeat together. Shanno mitra sham varunaha, shanno bhavatvaryama, shanna indra brahaspatihi, shanno vishnurukramaha, namo brahmane, namaste vayo, tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi, tvameva pratyaksham brahmavarisham, Ridhamavadisham, Satyamavadisham, Tanmamavid, Tadvaktaramavid, Avid Mam, Avid Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, you can chant this. Shanno Mitra,
Shanno mitraha,
Shambarunaha,
sham varunaha,
Shanno Bhavatvaryama,
Shanno bhavatvaryama,
Shanna Indra,
Shanna indro,
Brahaspatihi,
bruhaspatihi,
Shanno Vishnu,
Shanno vishnu,
Urukramaha,
urukramaha,
Namo Brahmane,
Namo brahmane,
Namaste Vayo,
Namaste vayo,
Tvameva Pratyaksham,
Tvameva pratyaksham,
Brahmasi,
Brahmasi,
Tvameva Pratyaksham.
Tvameva pratyaksham,
Now it says Brahmavadisham,
Brahmavadisham,
Ritamavadisham,
Rutamavadisham,
Satyamavadisham,
Satyamavadisham,
Tanmamavid,
Tanmamavid,
Tadvaktaramavid,
Tadvaktaramavid,
Avid Mam,
Avid mam,
Avid
Avid,
Vaktaram.
Vaktaram.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Yes. So we find that this Shantipata, this peace invocation, appears now at the end of the book. But there's a subtle shift in those words, as you saw at the end of the mantra. It says, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmavarisham.
Right.
So prior, it was a kind of prayer to the prana. We saw that it was that.
Mhm.
Adi Shakti is the prana, the life
Mhm.
force in us. It was a prayer to that force. And here it says that prana, avadisham, I declare, instead of may you, or I trust that it is. Now it's a kind of declaration where the student feels that prana is the truth. That prana, avadisham, I have declared, is the rhythm. It's a kind of bold statement. Avadisham, I declare. It is the satyam. It is truth. Avadisham. It is that. Then also that humility in the student to say, Tata mam avid. Earlier, we saw in the mantra, the student said, please protect me, and also please protect the speaker. Here, the student says, Tata, to me, mom, avid, you have protected. You did protect me. Tat avaktaram, avid, and you also protected the teacher. Avid mom, I was protected. Avid vaktaram, the teacher was also protected. So look at that. That gives you that real sense of closure, that feeling that when you're on the right path and you set the right intention and you say the thing that's on your heart, meaning cry out to the mother in your own way, she'll take care of you. Those luminous forces will watch over you. So it's a gratitude to the prana here and a gratitude to that Brahman in the form of so many different devas for protecting the seeker of Brahman in their journey to Brahmajnanam. And that is the subject matter of the next book, which will start next week, is Brahmajnanam. What does it mean to know the Brahman? So that discussion comes out in a bold, thunderous way with one of the most profound mantras in the whole Upanishadic literature. When we get into what is known as Brahmananda Valley, that's the name of the next book, Brahmananda Valley, the bliss of Brahman. So it will be a really a very deep shift in our conversation from upasana to knowledge. So here there'll be less meditating on a particular thing and more of our mind totally collapsing into its source as we learn the art and science of what it means to know thyself, Brahmavidyam, and gain that supreme, quiet, peaceful space. So you'll be excited to see that when we start the next book, we're going to start with a new Shantipata, but it's one that you're very familiar with. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhanatu. That mantra is the start of this next book. So we'll begin with that, and then you'll hear this great proclamation where it's really the philosophical heart and essence of the Vedanta you get to find in this Upanishad. And we'll probably take a class or two just to explore that together. Because if you understand that mantra, then it becomes so clear what it's all about. So let us close with a prayer. Congratulations on finishing this first book. And you chanted all the mantras. That's amazing. And really such a exciting experience in itself, just chanting the mantra. So I commend you for that. And also, really more so, thank you from the bottom of my heart to really share this space and practice this with me. So we'll close with that feeling in a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. We also honor and thank Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha, those amazing gurus from Swami Bodhananda here at Sambodhashram, all the way back to Dakshinamurti, the Adiyogi, for sharing the wisdom of Brahmajnana. Hari Om.
Hari Om.